There's got to be another good use for potatoes besides just cooking them. Actually, hold on. I think I got a crazy idea. Well, talk about a crazy time we're living in now. Usually I'm used to having a Christmas party where we're a bunch of people in a restaurant, having a good meal, having a good drink, by which I mean several drinks, and then after a little while to get it all out of your system, you hit the dance floor for a little bit. But this year was really different. Virtual Christmas parties are just bizarre still. Just sitting in your own home doing whatever and sharing a drink. But the one I had was a pretty nice one too. We had a couple of comedians who did a virtual show with us, and I don't know. It's like this is a creative way to get us all together and share a few laughs. Because what we're going through now, we got to laugh about what we can. And moving on from that, it's Friday night, and I'm thinking about my cooking stuff. Most of what I've been doing was barbecuing, stovetop things, but it's rare that I won't have used my oven to put something in and baking it for a little while. So I thought I'd correct that today. And instead of going for like my usual salty pig or whatever, I'm going back to fish. You've already seen my breaded white fish fillet before. This time I want to do some salmon. I love salmon. Apparently it's supposed to be really good for you, and it's got like the good kind of fat. How your body distinguishes from like good fat versus bad fat, or good fat versus evil fat. I don't know. Human biology is a very mysterious force, is it not? But I'm going to season it up pretty well. And I've been saying, or at least I've been told too, that people wanted to see some Christmas stuff maybe. I'm eventually going to get more to a Christmas themed video down the road, but I guess until then, this ought to do for now. There. Let's build up the festivities a little bit with this red hat. And of course, before I get some cooking done, I'm going to need some fuel. What brew am I going to have today? Hmm. Cheesy Legend of Zelda joke aside, I found a brand new one. It's a microbrewery that's called Shawbridge, or Microbrasserie and Charcuterie. So I guess you get some meats over there as well as your brews. A buddy of mine told me about this that he tried a little while back. and it's apparently located in Prévost. The only reason I know is because a friend has a cousin who live over there, so that's why I know about it. And this one is called Rivière du Nord Pale Ale. It's like a good 5%er. I'm trying to think, like, what can I highlight that's not one of my usual suspects? Bear juice, New England IPAs of such. Thought this is a good way to diversify the menu just a bit. So let's get a look-see. Okay, compared to Pilsners or Blondes, this one is like maybe slightly like amberish, I want to say. What the? Except there's some dust in here. Crud. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. And while I got my other glass, you can't see it, I made a mess again like a fool. Seems like my beer likes to spill on me. It tempts me. It teases me. It forsakens me. Well, let's give this one a taste before we get going on the cooking. Not bad. Some hops, not too sweet. It's a pretty good beer. All right, let's get started. All right, so we're gonna get some salmon ready for the oven. I got about 2 pounds worth over here at the store. It actually wasn't too bad of a price, all things considered. I guess the best bang for your buck is technically the one you get at Costco because it's a giant fillet. My one issue with it is that there's no skin on that one, so you're losing like one of the best parts of the fish. And also I had a tendency of getting a lot of bones that caught in there too. So it's a bit of a disappointing, like you have a good taste, you're chewing down, and then you're like, ugh, bone. This one I'm hoping doesn't have that. So I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna lay it onto a nice big cookie sheet with some foil on it to make sure I don't have too much of a cleanup to do. And then I'm going to be looking for some spices. Like, what could I do with this? Let's make it Cajun. I've already done jambalaya, so I love Cajun cooking, but I haven't done Cajun fish in ages. Rectification is on the way. Alright, seem to have gotten all my ingredients. I'll admit, I want to do a Cajun fish, but when I was recording this, I was thinking, like, how the fuck am I going to make it? But luckily, there's some easy recipes you could find out on the internet. And it's all basic things you're going to find in your spice rack, too. So I guess the first thing you should know is that you're going to need around 1 pound of salmon, possibly 2 just in case. Good thing I have this amount. So we'll start off with one basic part of it. 2 teaspoons of paprika. I'll admit, I don't know too much about the flavoring of paprika, or even the scent. I can't quite put my finger on it, but what I find is when I do my spice mixes with this is that this gives it a nice, I guess, blending material. Like, it gives a consistency, and it's like binding, I suppose, which is all well and good for me. So next I'm going to need half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper. Yeah, most of this stuff is like half teaspoon increments. And then some other stuff you could do is optional. Not bad at all. And I was also doing some barbecuing too over the summer. I remembered seeing that some of the ingredients was dry mustard, paprika, and chili powder to mix in there with minimal salt and pepper. And then when you add some brown sugar and you put it all together, sniff it, it was like, shoot, this is like barbecue seasoning. Basic barbecue seasoning is so simple. So color me amazed with that. Next, half a teaspoon of oops, I was about to put a full teaspoon of that. That would be hot. That's a spicy meatball. There. Again, any spice mix you're doing, salt and pepper are like your bare minimum, and then anything else is whatever you want to dress it with. Next will be half a teaspoon of some garlic powder. Personally, I prefer to use fresh garlic for a lot of things. Garlic powder, though, it's alright, especially when you combine it with other ingredients, too. Next is going to be half a teaspoon of onion powder, not granulated. Thing about this is that it's so fine and powdery compared to granulated gar. It's like sniffing cocaine, I guess. But not that I know what cocaine is like, because I don't know much about drugs. My one vice is beer and whiskey. Wait, actually, that's 2 vices, isn't it? Crud. Me and my math. We're not getting along today. There, we got that out of the way. So paprika, salt, pepper, onion, garlic. Next, they also call for a 1/4 teaspoon of thyme. It's rare that I actually use this thing. Like, one of my best uses for this is when I'm combining it in a dry rub if I'm doing my marinated pork in a slow cooker in a honey garlic sauce or honey butter sauce. That may be a future video. Because I had a friend that I wanted to make a really good supper for her birthday. And I was just thinking, I want some pork, I want something sweet, nothing too spicy. What can I do? And that one came up. It was really basic too. Have that and then put it all together and you make a good gravy with it. So yeah, that's going to be a future episode to come up. And I guess for my next touch, it's going to be a little over 1 teaspoon of chili powder for good measure. Chili powder is something I've been using a lot this past year, mostly for barbecue chicken. But I also find that if I do my meat sauce, like for a spaghetti sauce, putting that in gives it a little bit of a kick along with your basic ingredients. And now that that's out of the way, let's stir it up. And then you have more or less your dry rub ready to go on to your fish. Of course, just adding this to the fish is not going to be enough. You have one more final touch to do. But we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so I got my cookie sheet ready, and once again I have a sheet of aluminum foil over here, just so I can minimize the cleanup I'm going to have to do so it doesn't stick all to the pan itself. But there's one more step too. You're probably going to need to have some oil to really hold together the seasoning, but it's also going to give you a nice layer that is going to not stick to the pan. So I'm going to do about, well actually first what I should do is take the fish out of the packaging and lay it on top. It's going to look really nice and then have it all set up. Yeah, I'm kind of stoked. It's been ages since I've had a good piece of salmon at home. Like I said, sometimes kind of expensive. It's amazing that seafood's good for you, and then you have to pay an arm and a leg for that. Or sometimes arm, leg, and an earlobe. Sometimes I feel like everything that's good for you, you have to pay a price for. And meanwhile, a lot of processed shit is, this is me getting onto the soapbox now. I don't feel like doing that now. I just want to get some good food going. Oh yes. Nice big piece of fish. And as you can see, the skin's on here too. So you're going to have a beauty. Oh, I poked a hole in it. Fuck on a stick. Here I am losing my shit again. It's not even 1 beer down. So, I'm going to do this with one hand because I got one infected hand. Next, I'm going to do 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Olive oil is like a really good, well-rounded type of oil you can use for practically anything. Like, prior to this year, most of what I used was olive oil, canola oil, or sesame oil, depending on what I was cooking. But as you already know, I'm a huge fan, too, of avocado oil when I'm doing vegetables. But olive oil is still like, if you're going to have like 1 in your pantry, this is the way to go. So I'm going to put this on, and then I'm going to use my infected hand to give it a nice rubbing both on the top and on the bottom. There. Here, give it a nice massage. Here, that's a good fish. No way I'd be getting a fish this size when I was up at the cottage this past summer. Because most of what we were catching was like maybe 6 inches or less. And you needed like at least a good foot long in order to be able to cook them properly. I suppose that if I learned anything that summer is that I love fishing. I was like the number 1 in the group of guys. But even if I wasn't, just being in the middle of a boat, the middle of a lake, pounding back a couple of beers with nothing but the wind in your face, it's a thing of beauty. It's almost like the chalet that we were up at. Maybe realize that that's a goal I want to have for retirement. Just go out to the middle of the woods, be alone, tell the whole world to go to hell. It'll be great. I'll be like old MacDonald. What's this again, MacDonald?
McDonald's, yeah.
MacDonald whiskey. Old MacDonald may not have had a farm, but he has an amazing whiskey.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, right. I forgot I made that joke. So once this is done, then you're able to take your seasoning mix and then lay it on top. Just be very, very generous with it, and then you can pat it down afterwards. I'd rather have too much seasoning than not enough, and then realize I don't have some spots covered. But I guess there's one thing I actually forgot to do. Preheat the oven to 350. There. Nice, proper rub. So give it a nice patting down. That way everything is going to be in good order and well seasoned too. Just make sure there's no bald spots there. Give it a nice spice rub transplant. Hey, if they could do hair transplants, they could do spice transplants too. This is going to look like a beauty. Yeah, this is really reminding me of my pork tenderloin seasoning I had done. Now more than ever I want to get those finished up. Yep, future episode coming up of that. Of course, if I was really ambitious, what I would do is an episode of pierogies. That would be a challenge because I had working the camera with one hand and then I have to keep washing my hands like an idiot. But you'll see that after that, it's like a labor of love. You don't make the pierogies because you want something quick and easy. You're doing it because you want it done the proper way instead of a store-bought one. Okay, I've been rambling on enough now. So this thing is all seasoned up. I'm going to let this preheat, and then we'll throw it in. That'll give me some time to think what I want to do as a side dish. Or also just refuel, because you need your beer. Beauty! Alright. It's already been preheated to 350, so time to get this thing in the oven. So I'm going to just lay it on the top. And then for this size fish, I'm going to say it's going to take like around, let's give it 25 minutes. So it's not going to be too overcooked, but you want to make sure, once again, when you do fish, to make sure it's properly done, you stick a fork in it, and then the segment should be flaking off as it go along. And it's perfect too, because I'm kind of running out of fuel. So I'm going to need a refill too. Luckily, I have one as a backup. It's a New England IPA, because yeah, I want to go back to something that I love a lot. But it's another brewer I don't really know as well. Microbrasserie du Lièvre. That's what's called Sentier Perdu. Like Lost Senses. Then if you look at the label, it looks like it's a rabbit ear. So like Lost Rabbit IPA, I suppose. Screwy Rabbit IPA. But I'm seeing a running theme over here. I'm doing a lot of, rabbit stew or hunting rabbit jokes these days. Oh, well, I guess I'm still a fan of Bugs Bunny, even in my adult years. I think we all used to watch it on Saturday mornings when it was a thing. Bugs Bunny and Tweety show. Of course, I learned years later that the clips they had over there were censored. Sometimes they cut stuff for time, sometimes too violent, sometimes a joke that you wouldn't think of much as a kid, but then when you look back with adult eyes, well, first off, you look at it with adult eyes now versus as a kid, you think, damn, that's some pretty good animation. Like, you see all the little details of the technical stuff. But then there's some jokes you think like, oh, that's what it meant. Like, it was a double entendre. But then, of course, because most of those came in the 1940s and 50s, and it was definitely not politically correct, you think to yourself, holy shit, you cannot get away with that these days. And if you know those cartoons, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But all this to say, it's time to taste this New England IPA. Okay, I'll admit, based on the color, it's not cloudy, and the taste seems more like a West Coast IPA than a New England IPA. A bit more hoppy and less fruity. But then, a beer is a beer, so what am I going to complain about? And while we're waiting for that, I think I have an idea for what to do as a side dish. Good news! I have a frying pan to beat someone over the head with. Actually, no, did I make that joke already? Okay, let's try this joke again. I happen to have some extra stolen potatoes here, which I'm going to be using. I'm sure a lot of people are looking and thinking like, what's up with the stolen potatoes thing? Well, that's a joke for another time, I suppose. But I'm going to do something a little different. I usually like to have these baked on the barbecue. But something else I used to have a lot as a kid was really basic. You just cut these up into little slices, and then fry it up in some butter, and then they're super tasty. So yeah, I'm doing something pan-fried yet again. Can't be avoided, I suppose. These could be super delicious. Lately I've been doing a lot of pasta and rice. The potato has been a little bit lacking, so I need to correct that too. Ah, yeah. Oh yeah, and that day that I did the pork roast in the honey butter sauce, I did scallop potatoes for the first time ever, and those turned out amazing. Here I am talking about my past cooking expeditions, and I kind of want to show them off now in the future. So yeah, people, if you have a recipe that you want to know, or if you want me to prepare or talk about something, send something in the comments or send me a request. I don't mind. If it helps get viewers on this channel, then I'm all for it. So I'll get these all sliced up, and then when I'm done, I'm going to start heating up this pan. Heating up this pan, getting some butter in there, and then you're cooking with gas. Ooh, yeah. So before I get the potatoes set up, let's see how that salmon is doing. Ooh. Looking good. Should be caking in pretty well, and the aroma's hitting me like a ton of bricks. Now, if it was a ton of bricks, I'd be unconscious by now. I guess I'm going by cartoon logic. But, on that note, potatoes are all set up. Time to get some butter. Alright, butter is retrieved now. As usual, I'm going by my own habit. Instead of using regular butter, I'm using unsalted butter. As always, I like to think that if I ever salt these potatoes and I'm using salted butter to fry them up, that's a lot of salt. You don't have to do excessively for it. Heck, I even use that logic with pierogies when I make them too. And they still turn out amazingly as well. So, I think this is like around 2 tablespoons, I want to say. That might be a lot. But at least I'll be generous with this too, so that everything is going to be well coated and fried up. And luckily I'm not having all these potatoes in one shot. That would be overkill. And while we're doing that, there's like less than 60 minutes left on the salmon. This is going to be sweet. The butter's starting to melt pretty well here. It's not quite brown, but we're getting close. Close enough. So let's start administering potato therapy. That sizzle is so heavenly. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it all in one pan, so I think I'll have to do it in batches and probably administer more butter as I go along. I think it's still going to get the job done. And the good thing is I have so much in here that I'd have some leftovers for another time. Yep. Alright, we'll leave that aside and then stick around. But I think I need some fuel again. Alright. Note to self, always best to keep your beer away from where you're cooking. That way you have to keep walking back and forth so you can keep eliminating some calories that you're building up as you're cooking this and ingesting because of that. You gotta watch your cardio, people. It's a fact of life. Okay, starting cardio session again. Back to potato therapy. Ah, yeah. This might be enough for like 1-2 servings at once. Alright, these are still coming along. So rule of thumb, whenever you're cooking potatoes, if you want to know how well done you got to do them, best thing I can say is you want to make sure that when you stick a fork in them, like with whole potatoes, that it's going to poke a hole and not stick through it. If it's sticking, that means they're not cooked enough. So you got to keep it in just a little bit longer to let it brown up also. And then you have some like, ooh, not like that, but this here, if you look at it, it's getting so browned up, it may be good to go soon. So I'll prioritize some of the lesser cooked ones and then add a few more in to take advantage of remainder butter. And again, if I need more, I'll just add it. Not too bad at all. My God, you're greasy. Oof. had to change burners for a second because I realized too that my smoke detector was going off because the old owners had decided like the best place to install that is like the hallway that's right in front of the kitchen. So if you have any smoke coming out, of course it's gonna go off like right away. Hell, burning toast we used to set this off too. I don't get the logic of some people sometimes. Nevertheless, I have my ration set up for the plate. I've got some of my older potatoes out, and now added in a new batch. These should be going good, and I should probably do it in one more round. I also need another bit of fuel. Yeah. I got a minute 30 left of the salmon. That should be really tasty to do too. I know that beeping well, so it's ready, but I'm just going to turn it off, and I'll let it stew in its own juices for a little bit longer, because I need some time to get these other potatoes all set up. Give them a flipping. They're not browning as quick as the other batch, so maybe I need to let them cook a little bit longer. We'll be getting to that point very soon, everyone. Of course, I'm going to need some vegetables too. I got buttered potatoes, I got baked salmon. You need some other vitamins and minerals to accompany the various components of the anatomical facilitative structures whereby you must enable the nutrients and the vascular, muscular ineptitude to subside in order to gravitate towards a various embiggening, strengthening activity, which would preserve the Nevada seabeds. Yeah, only a few will probably get what I'm talking about there. Whew. We're on the home stretch, people. The last of the potatoes are being cooked. We've got some set aside for the next couple of days, over the weekend I suppose, and then once these are all fried up, I'm going to take out the fish, administer it onto the plate, and then do the final taste test to see what it's like. And I think I know what I'm going to do on the side too for some vegetables. Probably hard to hear, but Yoshi is starting to peer from his favorite corner now. That means he wants some food. What do you want? You probably heard that meow. That's in, people. Whining for food. What am I going to do with you, cat? Okay, old zebra mitts are on. Let's get this fish out of the oven. Ooh, this looks super tasty. Get a load of this. Nice Cajun salmon all ready to be served. I can take like maybe a third of this and I'm going to have just about enough. And then I'll have maybe 2 more meals for the weekend. It's a beautiful thing. So let's do the taste test in a couple of minutes. Alright, time for some good eating over here. So it's going to be a double header for tonight. I got my fish, I got my potatoes, and I thought for some legume, or I guess some veggies or whatever, I have some soup. My bean and barley soup that I put together a little while back. And no, don't worry people, this is not the same one I've been letting to fester in my fridge. I just thought I had some spinach I wanted to use, so I whipped up another batch of soup. So this is a fresh one. I'm not going to taste it and see what the verdict is because I know what this one's like. And you know exactly where to find it. So that would be on the right-hand side, of course. But I think the pièce de résistance would be the salmon. Nice big piece, good amount of fried potatoes. My one gripe about this though, it's that the skin actually stuck a little bit to the foil. So I had to do a little bit of scraping to make sure that I got some skin on there. Because, you know, the skin is a really good part when it's crisped up. I need some skin-on-skin action. Oh, wait, no, I'm saving skin-on-skin action for Wandering Yuki After Dark, where it gets a little bit blue and intimate. Yeah, I digress yet again. So let's see what this is like with Cajun seasoning. Yeah, I love salmon, and that seasoning gives it a nice breaded coating on it. And let me make sure these potatoes are edible. If they're too hard, you know you've undercooked them, so that's always a good rule of thumb. Yep, it has my approval too. It doesn't taste very salty, but I guess if you use unsalted butter, then you could add a little bit of salt to this so you don't feel as guilty about it. And I'm realizing too, my glass is kind of empty. So I have enough room for one more pint of fuel. And I'm going to go with a simple one. Staropramen Prava Sessionable Premium Pilsner. Inspired by Prague. I guess it's supposed to be like a Czech style beer. But I like this because the depanneur right by my house sells it for pretty cheap, like less than 15 bucks for a case of 12. And also, it's a 4.2 percenter. And it's not like, some light beers that are 4.2% that they basically taste like piss water. This is like beer that tastes like beer, but it's light. So I guess we've had a pretty successful run with fish, stolen potatoes, a recap of soup, and then some. So thanks, everybody. This has been a semi-Christmas edition of the Wandering Yuki Cheese Cafe. If you like what you see, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below, hit a like, leave a comment, and above all else, spread the cheese. And if you know anyone who's interested who might like this, by all means share it. I like getting the views. Stick around, everyone, and hang on. Live long and prosper.